Namaste and welcome. The information and tools I'll be sharing with you in this session is on understanding your dosha, which is mind, body, principle. So before we begin, I want to invoke a short chant in Sanskrit with English essence. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together, may we be protected. Together, may we be nourished. Together, may we walk with divine energy. May our journey together be enlightening. May there be no conflicts. Peace, peace, peace. So this chant was to invoke the message that I'll be sharing with you is received in an open way. And there's no conflicts. So this material, I have referenced this material from the book, The Perfect Health by Dr. Deepak Chopra, and the workbook, Perfect Health, the Chopra Center Ayurvedic Lifestyle Program. Firstly, let's understand briefly what is Ayurveda. Ayurveda is over 5,000-year-old consciousness-based system of healing from India. Derived from two Sanskrit root words, Ayus, meaning life, and Veda, meaning science or knowledge. Therefore, Ayurveda is translated as science or knowledge of life. From the Ayurvedic perspective, we as human beings are not merely thinking machines, but rather fields of intelligence, interacting with the information and energy that surrounds us. Through these daily interactions, stress, diet, and other routine parts of life can shift the balance of both body and mind, which can lead to health issues. Fortunately, the wisdom of Ayurveda can help connect us more deeply to our minds and bodies, offering us tools to identify imbalances in our lives and simple ways to help correct them. So Ayurveda views health as a state of dynamic balance of all the layers of life, balance of body, mind, and spirit with the environment. One of the foundational concepts in Ayurveda are the three energies of nature called dosha, or mind-body principles. They are known as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Every cell in your body contains these three principles. So to understand these principles further, let's start first with looking at the 5 elements which are the building blocks of nature. According to the timeless healing tradition of Ayurveda, the field of consciousness expresses itself through the 5 elements of nature. These 5 codes of intelligence are space, or ether, air, fire, water, and earth. They exist both in the inside and outside us and are building the blocks of nature's diverse expressions. So let's look at the 5 elements. The first one being space or ether. In Sanskrit we call this Akash. Space is the potential field in which everything is contained in the universe. Space expresses itself as the vast emptiness that underlies the physical world. So when you are looking at yourself, where you're standing and where somebody else is standing, or if there's a room, there's furniture, all in between each of this is space. Or if you're looking outside from here to sky, there's this vast emptiness, and that is what is space. So let's take a moment here and reflect. Where do we experience space within our body? So within our body, space can be recognized as the gap between and within cells through which information flows. So typically there's space here in our brain area, and also in the upper part where the lungs, well, anytime there's our organs, it has space. The second element is air, or in Sanskrit we call it Vayu. As the animating force of life, the air element is present in everything that moves. So externally, this force is represented by the wind. So when the tree blows, we can see the movement. Where and how do we experience this element of air within our body? So internally, it is the movement of our breath, circulation, and nerve impulses. The third element is the element of fire, and we call this Tejas or Agni. Fire is present in everything that generates heat, light, or transformation. Fire expresses itself in the outer world as the sun. So where do we and how do we experience the element of fire in our body? Internally, we experience the element of fire in our digestive process, which is our stomach. So I want to talk a little bit more about the element of the fire, the metabolism. So for example, when we take ingredients, so if you're making a banana bread, we would take the water, the flour, the banana, the baking powder, butter, all these ingredients, and we mix it together and we put it in the oven. And after 40 minutes or 45 minutes, we have this very delicious banana bread. So we've taken these ingredients and we've put it in the oven, and it's come out, so it's transformed. So this is what happens when we actually eat food. So whatever we put in our mouth, it goes through the digestive process and it gets transformed as energy and information. So whatever our body needs, it takes it in, and whatever it does not, it expels it or excretes it. So be mindful of what we put in our body. So it's not only the food, it's all the experiences we have through the five senses. So whatever information we take in, whether it's through the hearing, whether it's through the touch, the feeling, the eyesight, whatever we smell, whatever we taste, it becomes energy information. And we need to metabolize this, and when we don't metabolize this, it can become toxic. So just become aware that emotions need to be metabolized, otherwise when you hold on to it, it becomes toxic. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in the dosha. So the fourth element is the element of water, and in Sanskrit is known as jala. Nature is connected and nourished through the cohesive, attractive force of water. In our physical body, the water element maintains circulation and lubrication. So when we look at the universe, this universe, I would believe that about 70% is water. And within our own body, the water element is there depending on individual. And again, the constitution, between 65-70% is water, and it shows up as the blood and the enzymes, all the liquids in our body, like our kidneys. It holds on to the liquid. So the fifth element is the element of earth, which we call Prithvi. The earth element expresses itself as a solidity, mass and forms. It is reflected in nature as planets, mountains, rocks, and all solid structures. So how does this element earth expresses in our human physiology? Internally, it is reflected in our bones, muscles, tendons, and cartilage. So our human body has 306, 307 bones, and this physical being we see, that is mostly visually what we see is the earth element. So the three doshas are derived from these five elements. Once again, it's air, space, water, fire, and earth. So these are the 5 elements. The 5 elements organize themselves into 3 essential principles of movement, transformation, and protection. These principles, called doshas in Sanskrit, and are responsible for every function of our mind and body. The 3 doshas are known as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So let's explore the 3 mind-body principles. We'll start with the Vata dosha. So Vata dosha is resembling the wind principle. The primary function of Vata is movement. The qualities of Vata is cold, light, dry, irregular, rough, mobile, quick, and changeable. So just for a moment, reflect on when you're outside, when the wind blows. It can be cold, it's light, it can change directions. Or if you're in a flight, on a flight, you can feel the cold, the dryness. That's why when you're on a long flight, they ask us to drink water. An individual whose mind-body constitution shows preponderance of the Vata principle will likely to possess attributes that resembles the wind. So let's explore this a little bit more. Some of the physical characteristics of somebody who is mostly has got air and space in their physiology. So these people are thin, light frame. They have variable digestion. They have dry skin and hair. They have cold hands and feet. These people always feel cold. They sleep lightly. They lack sexual stamina. They move and talk quickly. They are restless and they are hyperactive. These people, they can't sit still. They are always moving. There's always movement. If they go to a function or an event, they like to talk and they like to move around. They cannot sit still. So their temperament, they welcome new experience. They like to experiment and try new things because they don't want to, because they get easily bored. They like to try different things. They resist routine. These people are lively conversationalists. They like to talk. And they spend money very easily. So someone who has got predominance of the Vata dosha, this person, when they are bored, they might go out to the mall and end up buying a whole bunch of things. And when they come home, they realize they didn't need to buy all those things. So they are very spontaneous and they end up doing things in that moment. So what happens when a person who's got the Vata principle, what happens when they are in balance? So these people are very energetic, they are creative, they are adaptable, they show initiative, they get very excited, they are very good communicators, and they are spontaneous. So these are the people who have, the creativity in nature. They are artistic, and they have lots of ideas that will come to them. and they would start off on a project and then leave it because another idea came. So they're always in that movement phase because they get bored. So what happens when they're out of balance? So these people, when they have a lot of the air and space in their physiology, they tend towards mental agitation, anxiety, worry, inconsistency, insomnia. They have a hard time sleeping. Delicate digestion, so this is where they have issues is with the digestion, and constipation. So the stress response is, what did I do wrong? So Vata people generally internalize the experiences, and if some situation goes sideways, they actually end up blaming themselves. They're always anxious, they're always worried, and that's why they can't sleep. So let's now look at the Pitta dosha, the fire principle. The primary function of Pitta is transformation or metabolization. So qualities of someone who's got a lot of the fire in them: hot, light, intense, penetrating, pungent, sharp, and acidic. Those with predominance of the Pitta principle have a fiery nature that manifests in both body and mind. So some of the physical characteristics of somebody who has got lots of Pitta in them: medium built. These people have very strong digestion. They can eat anything and digest it. They have thinning or gray hair. Their body temperatures is usually warm. They're always feeling hot. So heat, they're always feeling heat in their body, and not only in the body but also in their mind. They perspire easily. They sleep soundly for short periods of time. So they will go to bed and they may have their 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and when they show up they will tell you, well, I slept for 4 or 5 hours. And they also have a strong sex drive. So temperament of somebody who's got a lot of the Pitta in them: these people have very sharp intellect, they're very discriminating, they're very direct and precise, they stay close to routine. So these are the people with that, with their schedule, and they don't want to be late, and if you are late, they will give you that look. They're courageous. So, the leaders of the world generally have a lot more Pitta energy in them. They're good teachers and speakers, and they spend money on items that enhance prestige. So when we talked about the Vata person that runs out to the mall and buys a whole bunch of things that you need to buy, a Pitta person, on the other hand, they will save money and they will buy something that's going to enhance their prestige and their identity. A good example would be, when the new phones come out or a brand new car comes out, they will go and invest in those things that really puts them together as who they are as individuals. So when they're in balance, they're bright, they're very warm and friendly, they're very good decision makers. So, the CEOs of companies, they are generally Pitta. They know how to lead a group of people or an organization. They have strong digestion. So what happens to somebody who's got a lot of fire and it's out of balance, and they have accumulated a lot of heat in their body? So these people, they become angry, they're irritable, they don't have any patience, excessively critical or harsh, they are judgmental, they can be very aggressive, intimidating, and it shows up on their body as skin rashes, burning sensation, and indigestion. So a Pitta person really, when they are hungry, they should eat. If they miss the meal, they become angry and irritated. So imagine, you are in a lineup to buy groceries and you go to this lineup where, you know, they have those 12 express items, and if there's a Vata person ahead of the Pitta person, the Vata person may forget something and they'll run out and get it because that's their nature, or they'll create conversation with the cashier because they like to talk. And here's the Pitta person, they exactly have like 12 items, and now they are looking at this Vata person, rolling their eyes, making faces, because, you know, in their mind, it's like, well, why aren't they not more organized? Because they're always thinking about organization and maximizing their time. So they keep to routine and they expect that of others. So their stress response is, what did you do wrong? So they're the ones that look at you, they will not look at themselves for any mistakes. So the third dosha is Kapha dosha, the earth principle. The primary function of Kapha is protection. The qualities of Kapha is cold, heavy, solid, stable, smooth, and slow. Those with abundance of the Kapha principle are typically grounded, steady, remaining unruffled by and sometimes resistant to change. So the physical characteristics of somebody who's got a lot of the Kapha predominance, these people are heavy set, they have smooth skin, they have thick hair, sweet face, they have regular digestion. These people have deep sound sleep. So for example, the Vata person who had a hard time falling asleep with any sounds around them. We have the Pitta person that exactly had like 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep. You have the Kapha person, they love their sleep. So if there was an earthquake, they may not feel it because they can sleep through that. They are slow moving, they gain weight easily and have a hard time losing it. They have good stamina. They have slow and easy sex drive, and they're process oriented. So when we were making that the banana cake, the Vata person really didn't care about the ingredients or whatever. You know, maybe they were interested in the final product to taste how it was. The Pitta person really would want to know the ingredients and the qualities of ingredients, but when it came to the Kapha person, they were more interested in the process. Is like when we were mixing with the blender, how much, what was the speed, and when we were at the temperature in the oven, the time. So they're more interested in the process and details. So their temperament, these people are easygoing and patient. They're thoughtful in nature. They are stable. They're content. They're very devoted, loving, comfortable with routine, and these people like to save money. So we have the Vata person who shows up and shops, the Pitta person who will buy expensive item because it improves, sort of enhances their identity. Then you have the Kapha person who may have the same couch for 20 years because they don't like to spend money. So when they're in balance, they're very steady, they're consistent, they're very loyal, strong and supportive. So these are the people in a organization. You have the Vata person who's got all these ideas. You need that Pitta person that can drive the idea to get things done. Now you need this individual who's got Kapha quality to sort of sustain it, to hold it together. They'll show up. These are the people, especially in relationships, when their spouses or partners are abusive to them, they will not let go. They will still continue in the relationship. And this is where, when they're out of balance, they have a problem. So when they're out of balance, they're dull, they're inert, needy, they're attached, they're congested, overweight, and overly protected. So they don't know how to let go. And their stress response is, I don't want to deal with it. So the nature is avoidance or withdrawal. So to recap, each of us has a unique proportion of these three forces, meaning we have the 5 elements within us. So whatever is in the nature is within us, the 5 elements. And so if Vata is dominant in our system, we tend to be thin, light, enthusiastic, energetic, and changeable. If Pitta is more predominant in our nature, we tend to be intense, intelligent, and goal-oriented. We want to get things done, and we have a strong appetite. So when Kapha prevails, we tend to be easygoing, methodical, and nurturing. Although each of us has all the 3 forces within us, most people have 1 or 2 elements that predominate. Let me explain this further. So determining your body type, on the screen you'll see a display of the quiz that I will invite you to take, and you will have this either through the center or you can get it online. So in the first part of the quiz, we interpret the results. So in the section 1, which is the mind-body questionnaire, this is understanding your basic nature or Prakriti. So we have the 5 elements, and that quiz in the section 1, the way you would do this quiz is go through the quiz and you give it a score. It's 5, 3, and 1. And remember that it has to add up to 9. And don't take too much time doing this, then you're controlling it. So Pitta people, they might want to look at it, get it done, Vata will be unsure. And so inviting you to come from a place of compassion and no judgment, and just go through the flow. And remember that the first part of the quiz, you need to go back to your earlier childhood, when you were probably around 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever your earliest memory is, go from that place. Section 1 is an inquiry into the proportion of each of the 3 principles, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, within your unique mind-body constitution. Your score in this section reflects your basic nature, that means who you are or who you are from birth. These characteristics tend to change over your lifetime. The principle that receives the highest number score in section 1 is the most predominant force in your overall mind-body makeup. The principle that received the next highest number of score is the secondary force in your constitution. The lowest scoring principle, while still active in your mind and body physiology, is the least dominant in your particular constitution. So your individual constitution is determined at conception. It is made up of all 3 dosha, but 1 or 2 typically predominate. Although there are only 3 doshas, Ayurveda combines them in 10 possible ways to arrive at different body types. So just want to take here a moment and stop, and so that we don't get ahead of ourselves, knowing that we have the 5 elements, the 3 dosha, and there is 10 different ways it can show up. So there is no right or no wrong answer here. It's just understanding our basic body type. And we will look at the next part, which is the Vikruti, is what happens when we accumulate more of one dosha. How do we struggle and how we can balance. So the single dosha type. If one dosha is much higher than others, you are a single dosha type. A true single dosha type displays the traits of Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. So you're either one of those 3. The 2 dosha types. If no dosha is dominant, so when you look at your score and you have 2 of the scores similar, this means that you display qualities of your two leading dosha either side by side or in alternation. The higher one comes first in your body type, but both count. So here are the types. The first one, you could be either Vata Pitta or Pitta Vata. You could be Pitta Kapha or Kapha Pitta. You could be Kapha Vata or Vata Kapha. So once again, so these are the different combinations. Then there is a group that has the three dosha type. So they will have the Vata, Pitta and Kapha. So if your scores are nearly equal, you are considered a three dosha type. So a question of balance. Section 2 provides a snapshot of your current mind-body state. So this is the second part of this quiz that goes a little bit more in detail on what has happened since birth. See, when we are born as pure beings, but over the lifetime, through conditioned beliefs and experience, we move away from our basic nature. And we accumulate emotions and experiences that moves us away from who we are. So this part shows where you may have shifted. And once again, no judgment, come from a place of compassion. Fill this section out and look at the numbers here. There's no right or wrong, but just understanding your physiology so that you can bring about some lifestyle changes to help you bring about balance. Remember, you can't go back to your original constitution, but you can come very close to it. Or when you become aware your nature, and for example, if you have a lot of, if you're Pitta, and if you tend to get angry, agitated, and upset, and if you accumulate more of that, what do you need to do to bring about balance? So again, section 2 provides a snapshot of your current mind-body state. At birth, we are all intrinsically in balance, but as we go through life, physical stress, emotional turbulence and trauma, and non-nurturing life choices can lead to a lack of balance and integration between body, mind, spirit, and the environment. These are called vikruti in Ayurveda, a word that means deviating from nature. If left untreated, this imbalance can manifest itself as physical or emotional distress, addictive behaviors, and eventually disease or chronic illness. So, give you an example, the Pitta person who gets very angry, agitated, upset all the time, these are the people who are risk at high blood pressure, heart diseases because of the stress, being always in that frame of mind. That Kapha person that accumulates a lot of weight, the out of balance may end up having diabetes. The Vata person accumulates so much air and space. These are the people that get so anxious, can't sleep, and they may have to take medication. So determining the current mind-body state, mind principle with the highest point is the one primarily governing your mind and emotions at this time. So when you're looking at the score at the end, the one that scores the highest in the group will tell you where you are. The body principle that scored the highest points in the one primarily governing your body at this time. So you have the mind and you have the body. So the scores could be both high in both, say, Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, or you could have the mind being Vata and the body being Kapha. So there's different combinations. If your mind score is different from your body score, follow dosha diet and use the appropriate dosha tea, spice, blends that corresponds to your highest body score. Use dosha music, massage oils and aromas that corresponds to your highest mind score. So let's recap. When Vata is out of balance when you have too much air and space accumulated in mind, body, and environment. The result is a sense of ungroundedness. The best way to balance excess Vata is to bring more earth and stability in the physiology. So think about the word relaxing, relaxing. Pitta. When Pitta is out of balance, too much fire has accumulated in mind and body and the environment. The result is a sense of internal and external combustion. The best way to balance excess Pitta is to bring more space and coolness into the physiology. So think about soothing. Kapha. When Kapha is out of balance, too much earth has accumulated in mind, body, and environment. The result is a sense of sluggishness, congestion, and dullness. The best way to balance excess Kapha is to bring more movement and circulation in the physiology. Think invigoration. So let's go through this so we understand a little bit more about the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So if a Vata person has got a lot of air and space and they are just vibrating, the mind is just going, can't stop thoughts. When we talk about relaxation, a good way would be is to meditate. Meditation is good, or listening to music which is relaxing. A Pitta person, when they have a lot of fire in their mind, meaning getting angry, upset, think about soothing. Again, we talk about meditation. Meditation is good for a Pitta person as well. But also listening to music that is soothing. Classical music helps Pitta people. The Kapha person, if there is too much dullness, they withdraw or they get depressed, then they need to invigorate their mind, meaning they need to do some things which are more active. Again, we think about a Kapha person with invigoration. When they're listening to music, they might want to listen to something which is more alive, like a rock and roll, where there is some more energy. When we think about the body, so with the Vata person, when they have too much air and space in the body, they have constipation or bloating and gas. Again, just being aware of the diet, avoid foods that are raw, and foods that have a lot of air and space. Think of solid food. A Pitta person, when they have too much heat in their body, then they have this burning sensation, they have acid reflux. Think about soothing, so avoid food which are spicy, especially in the summertime, the heat. Think about cooling foods and eating on time. The Kapha person, if they have accumulated a lot of Kapha in their body, they need to stay away from foods which are carbohydrates, heavy foods. Think about the salads, the light food. And of course, in the book Perfect Health, you'll be able to find a lot more information on this. So as we become familiar with the characteristics of the three principles and how they interact within our mind-body constitution, we can recognize and correct existing imbalances in our physiology. Understanding our unique nature provides us the information we need to make conscious choices to create optimal health and well-being. By closing, I want to share a little story about myself, about how I experienced Ayurveda at a very young age. This is a beautiful story, and coming from that the background of India or Indian. I was born in Fiji Islands. My parents were from India. When they moved to Fiji, they came to a place of in a rural residential area, and there were several of us in the family, a lot of kids, and I remember my memory goes back to when I was about 6 years old. In our house, we had this a swing, or rather, it's a wooden type of a swing or cradle, where when a newborn baby is there, it's like a sort of like a hammock. You'd put the baby in there and rock it to sleep. It's like the baby is in the womb, and they're kept in such a way there's comfort. So we had one of those structures in our house, and I loved music. So at that age, I remember the radio was on a ledge, and where this swing was, and I heard this music, this song, and I wanted to make it louder to listen, that child's curiosity. So I climbed up this swing, and I sat on this sort of like a post, and I turned the volume higher, and I was listening to it. Somewhere I probably became dizzy, and I fell towards my right side. And when I fell, my right elbow, this part, actually hit the wood, and I was in pain, and of course there was injury. There was a dislocation. So my father the next morning took me to see a local doctor in the town, and the doctor examined it and really didn't do anything, and basically just gave me a sling to keep it this way. But my father, because he was exposed to Ayurveda and that lifestyle, he took me to a healer. This woman, I have very vivid memories. My father carrying me to her house, and she looked at my my hand and my arm. The next thing I know, that she had this pan or a pot. She took some vines and some turmerics, and she heated something, and she put it on my my arm, and then she wrapped it up, and then she put me in the sling. So what that did was it reduced inflammation. So these days, there were the Riboxacet or whatever medication we take to reduce inflammation. Those days, those things were not there. People were using natural ways of healing. And I remember over the course of time, we would go 2-3 times a week. What she would do is she would take off the old vine and the spices. She would give me a massage. She would put the new the vine and the turmeric, which was heated up, and tied up again. So there you go. That's through healing Ayurvedic way. So that was my experience. So I know it works. Again, remember, healing is a journey. Inviting you not to have judgment in your mind-body constitution, but just taking those tools in to see how you can be more conscious of the choices you can make to invite healing in your life.